If you're someone who's installing VMware Workstation on Linux for the first time and getting any of these errors, then you have come to the right video. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is my third video of the series transitioning from Windows to Linux. In this series, I intend to help those who are trying to move away from Windows but have almost zero experience with Linux and are not really sure how to move forward. In my first video, I showcased how to install Fedora alongside Windows 11. Now, if you want to install Linux alongside Windows, you can follow that tutorial. I'll share the link in the description. In the second video, we discussed the post-installation steps for Fedora, wherein I explained how we fetch Fedora updates using terminal, how to enable RPM repository, and also how to install daily drivers like VLC Player, Spotify. And we also touched based on how to install Timeshift for making backup of Linux. Now in this third video, I'm going to help you with the steps to install VMware Workstation 17 Pro on Linux. Now you can get VMware Workstation 17 free for your personal use from official VMware website. I've made a video on how you can register yourself and download the setup file. The link is placed in the description. You can follow that and get your copy of VMware Workstation. Now, if you're familiar with VMware, if you have used it on Windows, you know how the installation process of VMware is very user friendly. And even if you have limited knowledge, you should be able to install it without any trouble. Official VMware website provides workstation installation file in bundle format for Linux, but it still requires many steps which you need to follow using the command line. And it can be tricky for a lot of new users who are not familiar with terminal. Also, the installation process can be different for different distributions, where one need to rely on a lot of community forums, some of the unofficial guides, and at times in order to fix any issue, one can lead into a inconsistent solution and sometimes a lot of troubleshooting. In this video, I'm trying to bridge that gap by pretty much giving you step-by-step instructions. I'm also trying to give you the source of the official documentation that I'm using, which will hopefully get the job done. Okay, so let's get the video up and rolling. Now I have already downloaded VMware Workstation 17.6.1, which is the latest in the month of December 2024, and I've placed it on my desktop. Let me also show you the official Fedora guide. I'm using the official Fedora project documentation. In case you're using a different Linux distro, you should be able to find the official documentation as well. So this is the official Fedora documentation. As you can see, it tells you how to resolve issues for VMware Workstation and Player, any kernel and any version. It tells you how the installation is done for both VMware Player and VMware Workstation. It also tells you how to resolve conflict with kernel. Some of you would encounter issues with kernel. So first of all, we will just check what kernel version do you have. If I check for I have 6.11.10. Write down your version of kernel. It may come handy in the later part of the video. All right, let me just shrink the font a little. I would need you to go to the VMware Workstation setup folder and run the terminal from there for your convenience. So right now my VMware Workstation is placed on desktop. So I will go to my desktop. You can see my setup file is here. Clear command clears everything. I'm hoping from the previous videos you would have learned few commands and may have got a little comfortable with terminal. All right. Now the first thing that we need to do for VMware Workstation installation is to update our DNF. Now try to do that every time whenever you are about to install anything. Sudo DNF update. It's trying to fetch. Okay, so we have 33 new packages. I'll say yes here by typing Y and hit enter. As of now, I have not started VMware Workstation installation. Take it as a prerequisites for installing VMware Workstation. Okay, so this is complete. I will clear this one. The second command that we'll be running, let me write that sudo dnf install glib 2 glib 2. Though this is not part of the official documentation here. When I did the installation, I faced a lot of runtime errors. So I'm ensuring that we have all the required libraries and development tools for installing VMware Workstation. Like I said, it is not part of the official Fedora documentation, but this will ensure that you do not come across any runtime errors. So that's why we are installing this. I'll say yes to this one. When you run chmod plus x alongside with the file name, which is VMware.bundle file in our case, it basically modifies the file permissions to allow to execute it as a program or a script. So that's what we have done right now. Now we will run the setup file. It's asking for my password. I'm currently using the latest version of VMware Workstation 17.6.1 as of today in December 2024. Okay, we have it installed. Okay, let's try and run VMware. And straight away you are greeted with a GCC compiler error. So as soon as you install this and you run VMware Workstation, it tells you that before you can run VMware, several modules must be compiled and loaded into the running kernel. Right now, it says GNU C compiler GCC version was not found. If you have it installed in a non-default path, you can specify the path below. Let's first of all check, do we even have GCC installed or not? We'll type in GCC version. It does not look like we have it installed. All right, we'll now install GCC. It says it needs 167 MB. I say yes. Okay, it is complete. I'll just double check the version now. Now it tells you that it has 14.2.1. That is what we were looking for. Here, let's start again. Now it is giving me a different error. It says the kernel header for version 6.11.10 were not found. If you have installed them in a non-default path, you can specify the path. Now let's double check what version. Let's double check what version of kernel we have. We have 6.11.10. Let's browse here. So there's nothing inside this folder. Okay, we'll close this, clear this. Now let's go to Fedora docs and search for official documentation. As you can see, it is talking about conflict with kernel, gives us this command to run. So we will run this command. It's giving me 178 MB. I'll say yes. We'll wait for this to download and install. All right, this is installed. So I will just clear this. Let's try and run VMware again. We are no more getting the error anymore. Now it's giving us the option to install. It's asking for my password. And we finally reach the VMware Workstation end user license agreement. You can click on I accept, go to next, say no here. I'll say no as well. I want I want to license VMware Workstation 17 for personal use. It's asking for my password again. And there you go. We have now officially installed VMware Workstation 17 Pro on Linux on Fedora. As you can see, this is not licensed. This is only for personal use. There's no expiration. Now you can go ahead and create any virtual machine. Now, some of you, while creating a new virtual machine, would receive an error in case you are using a secure boot. For example, in my case, I have a dual boot where I'm using Fedora alongside Windows, and I already have my secure boot enabled in the BIOS. So now when I try to create a virtual machine, I will be able to create the virtual machine. However, when I will power on that virtual machine, it will then give me another error The error would say could not open dev vmon, no such file or directory, and the next message would be fail to initialize monitor device. So in this scenario, we'll have to create a self-signing certificate. And in this final part of the video, we'll be creating the same certificate. So in case you're not receiving that error message and you do not have a secure boot, in that scenario, you can close this video tutorial. We are good to go now. Try and install any virtual machine. In case you find any errors or any issues, you can leave in the comment section below. I'll be more happy to help. Now, for those who are still receiving the error message that I'll be showing now, let's create the self-signing certificate for that. Okay, let's open VMware Workstation. We'll click on New Virtual Machine. I have one ISO image, so I will browse to that location. We'll go next. Just give it a password and confirm my password. We'll click on next. We'll leave it as it is and click on next. I'll just give it 50 GB. Click on next and we'll click on finish. Now, as I said, straight away it will give me an error on powering it on. So we are receiving that error message now. If you click on OK, it will give you another message. Now, in order to get rid of this error message, we'll take the use of the official documentation from Broadcom. As you can see, it says cannot open dev vmmon, no such file or directory error message. Now, the reason for this error message is simply because I have secure boot enabled on my desktop, on my Linux host, and because of this, it does not allow any unassigned drivers. And basically, VM drivers, which are vmmon and vmnet, they are not able to load. That's why I'm getting the error message while opening up the powering on the virtual machine. It tells me to generate a key pair now. I'll paste this command. As you can see, there is mok.priv. That's the private key. I'm going to rename it as secure boot cert. You can rename it as whatever you like. Just ensure that you write it down properly and replace it in the .der extension as well. In fact, let's do this. Let's create a new folder for this certificate because you will require this certificate um, at various stages. I'll call it as secure boot certificate. I'll open this and open the terminal from inside of that folder, and I'll paste the command that we created. It's basically asking me to install a package, open SSL. I'll say yes. The reason to create this folder is simply because whenever you get a new update for Fedora completely, right, your kernel gets updated, you may get this error message again for vmmon and vmnet. So you may need to run a couple of commands again. So it is better that you have this folder handy and you're able to run these commands later on whenever you require them. Okay, as you can see in the background, we have .der and .priv files created. All right, I'll clear this. We go back to the Broadcom website and it's asking us to sign the modules using the generated key by running these commands. So we have already generated the key previously. Now we'll use these two commands. I'll just paste them here. Now I'll replace the name of the certificate I'll replace MOK with secure boot cert. So I'll replace it at both the .der and .priv place in both the commands. I will also replace uname -r with my kernel version. So we'll open, yeah, we'll copy this from here, copy it and replace it. Now I'll paste it. First command is taken. I'll copy this one as well. I'll paste this one as well. All right, now both of these commands are accepted. Now the last part is to import the public key to the system's MOK list by running this command. So I'll place this command here. Again, I removed MOK with the secure boot cert that I have renamed, and I will copy this and run this command again. Now, once you run this command, it will ask you to create a password for yourself, and it will ask you to confirm that password again. Please ensure that you have that password handy with you, because once you are done with this command, you will have to reboot the machine and you will have to enter that password. Now, I do not have that particular video captured, so I'll just put in the screenshot of how command prompt would look to you, how the terminal would look to you. Now we'll reboot the machine. Now, once it powers back on, it will take you to a blue screen, just like this. Just press any key and click on Enroll MOK. Click on Continue, click on Yes, enrolling the keys, put in the password that you just created. Now, click on Reboot and your machine will now reboot. It's giving me the grub option to select Fedora. I'll select Fedora. Okay, I'll open VMware Workstation again, start this operating system. I'll click on that. And finally, I'm able to move forward. Even though right now we are able to power on the virtual machine, but after updating Fedora and kernel, I was again facing similar issue while powering on the virtual machine. Let me show you how it looked like. As you can see, it's giving me an option to click on install and then asking me for my password. I do that. It looks like it's doing something, but it will eventually end up giving me a message that unable to install the modules. You can look for the log for more details. So I did some research online, and again in one of the Broadcom discussions, it talked about how I will have to reuse the certificates and the commands that we used earlier. In short, I will have to sign the modules using those generated keys. So I went back into my self-signed certificate folder that we created and ran these two commands. And after running these commands, I again opened up VMware Workstation just to see if it's working or not. However, I was able to open the VMware Workstation, but I was still getting an error message while opening the virtual machine. So then I rebooted my computer. And after rebooting my machine, I opened up VMware Workstation again, tried powering on my virtual machine, and finally I was able to get it to work again. So we have covered a lot of aspects in this video tutorial for getting VMware Workstation installed on your Fedora or Linux machine. I've tried my best to give you a lot of scenarios and possible solutions to those scenarios. In case you have encountered any different error messages, please feel free to put in a comment. And if you've liked the video and it was helpful to you, I would request you to like and subscribe.